Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I did a quick poll on YouTube about whether or not you guys wanted to see me stream this Friday night or have a Season 3 or Rebuilding Glory campaign, whatever you want to call it, Day 4 update. The poll was extremely even, so I figured why not go ahead and do both. If you want to see how my account is doing so far in Rebuilding Glory RP, stay tuned. Welcome back, everyone. I'll try and keep this video short and sweet and just hit the high points. But before we get into exactly how things are going, I wanted to go ahead and mention that I am really not a fan of these new faction caps, especially not a fan of how poorly they were just not communicated to the players. Pretty much every single team I've talked to, including my own, has run into massive issues with factions filling up too quickly, and then having to send players to an overflow faction, and then that overflow faction filling up, and then you have to send players to another faction. At the end of the day, this is a game where we want to play with our friends and the people we've been playing with from season to season, so I hope the devs up the faction limits in future campaigns, or at least give us a clear picture of how many players can fit into one faction so that leaders can make alternative plans in case you see like 5 or 6 teams going into a faction when only 3 teams are going to fit. With that out of the way, I started off as Erebor, and I pretty quickly had to transfer because Erebor filled up almost immediately. I got about 65 of my players into Erebor. We ran some numbers, and based on the false player cap information that we had at the time, we thought that Linden would have plenty of space. Turns out they didn't. So we started transferring into Linden. I stayed behind in Erebor to try to make sure everybody got out. We transferred into Linden, and then that filled up too. So we ended up having to transfer into Arnor. So we're split between Linden and Arnor. I transferred about 22 hours into the season, so I could use the last little bit of my season buffs to retake some tiles. Overall, in terms of ranking, 35 in ring level, 14th in personal production, which for being 22 hours behind, especially considering those are day 1 hours, I'm actually pretty proud about that. My main group is sitting at 6th overall. It's about 60, 61 of us in there. And then my secondary group, we merged into this Hope, Noble, and King is down here somewhere. They're running 3 fellowships. There was only like 30 to 35 of us that made it into Arnor. So we went ahead and merged with them. As far as commanders go, I've been primarily using Gandalf, Dwalin, and Arwen. I was wanting to invest into Celeborn because I thought the very first chest of the season would be the Celeborn chest. However, we got the Season 4 chests, even though this is my first Rebuilding Glory Season 3. So I managed to pull him randomly off of a daily chest. So he's sitting at respect level 1. However, the more I've thought about it, the more I just don't think he's that good outside of Lothlorien. I'm not a huge fan of the Grey Elf tree. The Wise is like the best single point skill in the game, because if you can hit 350 focus, you get Initiative Madness immunity permanently for 1 point, which is pretty ridiculous. I think they should probably rework how this skill works and say that the focus immunity or the initiative is a max level effect and throw speed somewhere else. Actually, who cares about the speed? Nobody cares about the speed on this commander. I just think 1 point for Madness Immunity and Initiative is ridiculous. And then his Respect 5 title only affects March Wardens. I absolutely hate these skills that they're making, that you have to play one specific faction in order to use the commander. And the more I've theory crafted him, I just don't think he's worth it unless you're Lothlorien. If you are Lothlorien and you can whale his gear, I think that he could be a very powerful commander, but that's not me this season, so I'm going to go ahead and scrap him, and I'm probably going to mess around with Elro here, to be honest. We'll see how it goes. I'll figure out another primary commander later on. And then as far as my ring build this season, because I think that is probably the last thing we can finish up talking about it, I started off going EXP, I did this because I wanted to get that level 13 and level 20 chapter as soon as possible. I didn't want to be missing it by any little bit. And powerful sweeping does not unlock until ring level 16 anyway. So I went EXP and I moved towards Levy. And right when I hit ring level 16, I respec'd to 10 of 10 powerful sweeping. And from there, I went all the way to 10 of 10 Levy. Those of you that have watched my other videos will know that I'm a huge fan of this tribute bonus. If you do the math, by the time your tributes are level 14, which you should be able to hit by day 2, day 3, depending, you will actually be gaining more resources than max control plus max harvest gathering on a 150 tile. So Levy is amazing for early game resources. These 2 points should really be over in control right now, but I've been a little bit too lazy to respec my ring. I probably should do that right after I make this video because these 2 points are dead points as well. And I could actually go ahead and fill up control. That would be a lot better. And then after control, I'm going to come back down for EXP. I do think that effortless sweeping might actually be better than EXP. But I haven't tested it yet, and I'm still in the phase where I really want to be taking a bunch of tiles rather than sweeping, so I think that EXP is going to be a little bit more value in that regard anyway, and obviously we're taking dominance every single time. This does look like it's going to be a pretty spicy season. Erebor has already come over to Southern Anduin Vale. They made a united faction with Lothlorien. Rohan and Gondor united. We united with Lindon. And then Yags and Mordor united. Nothing super surprising with which factions ended up uniting, but it is a bit funny to see Erebor all the way over here in the west when they have a bunch of other keeps that they can take. I suppose they'll be able to just take those as they wish anyway. So we'll see what happens. Overall, I think it's going to be a super fun season. I was very upset that my team got split up, but I think we found some good friends in Arnor and Lindon. I think it's going to be a great season. All right, guys, that's it for this video. I'll catch you in the next one.